Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 406 based on novel. So let's start. Although he had already gotten the space of inheritance to recognize its master, Luo Feng still held many doubts regarding the boat of mausoleum and space of inheritance. Right away, he used his godly power to envelope that memory stone, and shortly after, a large amount of information was transmitted to him. It was detailed information left behind by Duandong River's virtual consciousness, before it was dispersed, concerning the various functions and areas to pay attention to within the space of inheritance. It also included what he needed to tell Luo Feng regarding the remodeling that he had done to the boat of mausoleum. The information was so detailed that it included where the core control of boat of mausoleum was and how to control it. All this information was made known to Luo Feng via that memory stone. The 3 generations of ancestors prepared information so meticulously. Luo Feng was in awe. Almost 95% of the entire space of inheritance is filled with the achievements of the 3 generations of ancestors, only 5% are some functions added on by the other generations of heirs. This entire space of inheritance is the perfect place for a great being to cultivate. Luo Feng was shocked. It was detailed beyond words. If not for the information Duandong River left behind, even though Luo Feng was recognized as master by the space of inheritance, he would have likely had to wander around and study the place before he could understand all corners of it. Yet now, everything was well within his control. The space of inheritance was actually like a miniature universe divided into many individual spaces. There was a space resembling a super library, where there was a tremendous amount of memory stones that contained an equally large amount of information. Almost every fundamental technique of the ancient civilization was recorded, and there were countless precious experiences that led directly to the road of the highest peak, experiences of generations of heirs and the countless precious information that they had gathered. There was also a space that seemed to be used specially for combat training, a miniature virtual space where there were numerous opponents, a total of 282 of them, and amongst them, the generations of Duandong River were also included. The moment one's consciousness entered the virtual space, one could exchange blows with these virtual opponents, and these virtual opponents were capable of executing the same mighty power of corresponding super beings. The strongest opponents were, naturally, the 3 generations of ancestors. There was a space that seemed to be used specially for creating secret techniques. There was a space specially used to cultivate one's weapons. There was a space specially for mediation. There was a space specially for... To concluded, the entire space of inheritance was the epitome of perfection, the best place for a great being to stay in for cultivation, as it was filled with, and continuously supplied with, knowledge and functions by generations of heirs. This is too extravagant. Luo Feng could not help blinking. Before accepting the inheritance, he had entertained many kinds of imaginations, but upon truly getting into contact with it, he realized that he was not adventurous enough in his imagination. He had underestimated Duandong River's generations of heirs. This so-called extravagant to the maximum limit space of inheritance. If one was within here, then regardless of how short or long it took, it would be impossible for one not to become a super great being. Furthermore, the pulse of Duandong River had always been very stringent in its requirements of an heir. To be chosen, one had to be absolutely gifted and determined, and possess various other superior qualities. Even if there was no inheritance to be handed down, this heir would eventually be someone of great achievement. Once the chosen heir had the help of the space of inheritance, it would be like giving wings to a tiger. One would naturally be fueled with even greater strength to go further and higher. In Universe Ocean, fighting for inheritances until everyone gets badly battered, especially using techniques such as Divine Eye Clan's so-called law of combined attacks, is something that is very common to the ancient civilization, and it only constitutes part of it. There are many trivialities that may include even soul attacks, illusions, refining true treasures, creating manipulative automatons. There are so many that it is impossible to count them all. Luo Feng was in awe. He came to realize that whatever he knew about the ancient civilization was very basic. To the pulse of Duandong River, this basic information that was stored in the 10 million memory stones was all pretty much inconsequential. Thus, it was up to the generations of Duandong River's descendants' discretion, whether they wanted the information to be kept within the pulse or to be shared with other groups of powers. Knowledge is power. The experiences of countless great beings and their beliefs in the cultivations of countless studies, all of these were creations by numerous preceding great beings in succession. This is where the fundamentals originate. The first thing Luo Feng did was practically in sync with what any of the preceding generation of Duandong River would do, which was to recall everything that was recorded within these memory stones. Perhaps he might not be treading the paths of certain groups of studies. Or he could touch on some knowledge that might be helpful to his own cultivation process. Or, probably, when he met with opponents of a foreign group of studies in an actual fight, he would know a thing or two about his opponent's backgrounds, strengths, and weaknesses, as well. Bring it on. Luo Feng made a single wave. In an instant, a large number of black stones, such a tremendous number that they were counted in the millions, were suspended in midair. Categorize them. Luo Feng divided his godly power to get in contact with all the memory stones simultaneously, then started to process the different parts of information that he got in contact with, classifying them after coming to a verdict. Shortly after, the countless memory stones were being sorted into different categories. First, he would categorize them, then he would start memorizing. Luo Feng was in a cultivation space where time velocity reached 10,000 times, and he only spent around 15 days to memorize the entire core inheritance. The actual time spent was a few hundred years. Thereafter, he started on a job that was on a much larger scale. It was to start memorizing the information stored in over 100 million memory stones. There was over 100 million memory stones, but every stone was only a small part of the fundamental, which was why the amount of information was far from that of the core inheritance. Yet he still required close to 30 years to finish accepting the entire amount of information, which was actually 30 eras. Upon complete acceptance, Luo Feng started to read and study thoroughly, and the amount of time he used was much longer compared to the amount of time spent on merely accepting the information. Previously, it was just trying to force all the information from the countless books into his mind. Now, he had to slowly go through them all. The boat of Mausoleum was still floating in midair within the flame ice region, but the cabin doors were shut. Occasionally, there would be great beings passing by with envy in their eyes, but they did not dare to stay for long and left quickly, as they were afraid of incurring the wrath of that Duandong River, who could, after all, exterminate second true master and seventh true master in an instant. While various groups of powers of Universe Ocean were suspicious and speculating, where the majority of them were unclear of who the heir was, Luo Feng was, on the contrary, able to study at ease. Being in the space of inheritance, he knew he was in safe hands. Besides, the space of inheritance was within the boat of Mausoleum. The moment the boat of Mausoleum closed, no one from Universe Ocean would be able to intrude. As for those who dared to set foot in the boat of Mausoleum, they would be courting their doom. The boat of Mausoleum might not be able to attack those outside it, but Duandong River had remodeled it so that internally, there were many terrifying means that served to ambush intruders. Any Universe Supreme being who dared to intrude would be asking for death. With the passing of time, Luo Feng gained much understanding about the breakthrough of every level, from Undying to Universe Knight to Universe Master to Universe Supreme Master. He was even aware of things like which level a Universe Supreme Master had to continue to advance toward. He was, in fact, very knowledgeable in this aspect. Even the Universe Supreme Masters did not know as much as Luo Feng. In that ancient civilization, there was a very clear analysis in this aspect, so within the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River, all of these analyses were considered part of the ordinary, peripheral information stored within the memory stones. They simply carried no value of confidentiality. Luo Feng might only be a Universe Knight, but there was no questioning his qualification in providing guidance to Universe Masters. He might even be qualified enough to offer guidance to Universe Supreme Masters. After all, the Universe Supreme Masters within Universe Oceans were all like blind men crossing the river. Even if they had all achieved their breakthroughs, they were all still so muddlehead because there was too little experience from predecessors where they could learn from to begin with, so there was simply no way they could carry out their studies in a systematic manner. In the blink of an eye, 2,600 years had passed since Luo Feng accepted the inheritance. In the virtual universe within one of the individual plane surfaces belonging to Huge Axe Creator, Luo Feng has become the heir for so long, yet after sending us one mail, he seems to have vanished. Surrounded by a vast and dark starry sky, in the godly palace floating in mid-air, Primal Chaos City Leader and Huge Axe Creator were seated facing one another. In terms of friendship, Primal Chaos City Leader and Huge Axe shared a very close friendship. Previously, Teacher Origin had guided both Primal Chaos City Leader and Huge Axe. As Primal Chaos City Leader was more obedient and followed every teaching when he was under Teacher Origin's tutelage, he was the older disciple. Huge Axe was different. He was a wilder character and preferred a nonconformist approach, and he was often out wandering, which was why Teacher Origin and Huge Axe did not share a teacher-disciple relationship. Yet it was unquestionable that Primal Chaos City Leader and Huge Axe were both Teacher Origin's very first disciples, of which one was the disciple of highest seniority while the other was a true disciple without an acknowledged teacher-student relationship. Huge Axe was like an older brother, especially after Teacher Origin was suppressed. The entire human race was dependent on the two of them. As time grew longer, the two naturally forged a deep friendship as they often met together for discussions. Ha ha, you really are worried about your darling disciple. Huge Axe laughed out loud. Yes, I am worried that there may be accidents. Primal Chaos City leader shook his head. Who will know anything about the ancient civilization? That Tuandong River may have other ulterior motives, who knows? Can't you just ask Luo Feng directly? Huge Axe said. I'm worried that I will be disrupting his progress of accepting the inheritance. Primal Chaos City leader gave a slight frown. What are you worried about? Luo Feng has a few great bodies. How can it be possible that when accepting the inheritance, he cannot even spare a tad bit of consciousness into the virtual universe? Huge Axe shook his head in objection. If you are worried, then let me approach him. Huge Axe was more forthright. Without further ado, he sent a mail to Luo Feng. Very quickly, a lone figure appeared out of thin air before the quiet godly palace. That was Luo Feng donning a simple white robe because he was used to wearing his silver armor. That was why Luo Feng was naturally inclined towards colors like silver and white. Luo, Huge Axe creator, was about to open his mouth to say something, but suddenly, furrows appeared within his brows as he carefully observed Luo Feng. Primal Chaos City leader, who was usually a meticulous thinker, was also surprised when he looked at Luo Feng. Both of them were supposedly great beings of such high ranks. And both could tell at one look. The Luo Feng that stood before them had undergone an overwhelming chance. That was an inherent change from deep within, just like how the disposition of some who had battled frequent enough to become more determined and aggressive, while others had studied enough books to gain the so-called scholarliness. Different experiences would bring about different changes in dispositions, and when Luo Feng had absorbed the foundation of that entire ancient civilization, his original vision and realm of thoughts underwent an earth-shattering change, and this had surpassed many other Universe Supreme Masters. He could even be a teacher of several Universe Supreme Masters, someone capable enough to provide them with guidance. Seems like this inheritance is quite extraordinary. Huge Axe turned to look at Primal Chaos City leader, and with a sigh, he said, the moment I saw him, the feeling was the same as what I felt back then when I first met Teacher Origin. Besides, Teacher Origin liked wearing white robes too. He does exude a similar feel. Primal Chaos City leader also commented amidst laughter. Luo Feng walked up and said, Huge Axe creator, teacher, please don't tease me. It's quite obvious. Huge Axe started, you gained big time. How do you feel? Primal Chaos City leader was no longer jesting around as he continued to say, how is the inheritance this time round? Is it helpful to our human race in any way? Are you confident in getting our human race to transcend reincarnation? Even Huge Axe's eyes were filled with the same eagerness. Luo Feng nodded, from the stage of an undying all the way to the limit of a Universe Supreme Master, everything is within my heart. How certain and confident he sounded. Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City leader looked at one another, and both pairs of eyes were shining brightly. Primal Chaos City leader and Huge Axe creator were very clear of the kind of person Luo Feng was, as they had watched him grow and mature. Just like how he had been absorbed into the Universe Virtual Network Company at the very beginning, it had always been the same way with Luo Feng. When there was no outburst, all was peaceful. The moment he had an outburst, it would certainly result in an amazing surprise. Since he had first become Primal Chaos City leader's disciple, he had lain low and completely effaced himself, and he had kept to such obscurity that the outside world started speculating whether he was alive or dead. Through his journey of growth, his character and style of handling matters were clearly observed by both Primal Chaos City leader and Huge Axe creator. They were very clear on the fact that Luo Feng would only start on something if he was prepared for it and that he had the confidence to bring it to completion. If he was not prepared or lacked the confidence, he would never casually commit to it. On the contrary, if he verbalized his decisions in a resolute and confident manner, then he was bound to succeed. Everything is within your heart? Huge Axe creator gave a hearty laugh. Everything? What great confidence you have. But just listening to your words makes me very happy. From an undying to the limit of a Universe Supreme Master. Primal Chaos City leader could not hold back his question, so, do you know how you should break through a reincarnation era? Huge Axe creator, who was listening by the side, also looked at Luo Feng. Breaking through a reincarnation, even Huge Axe felt the fear and sense of loss. Even he was not confident. Luo Feng was slightly taken aback. Breaking through a reincarnation? He was truly clueless. With a serious expression, Luo Feng said, the inheritance of the pulse of Du and Dong River is extremely vast. However, I am under the influence of the willpower of the primal universe, so I am only allowed to access information about the inheritance up to the limit of a universe supreme master. Any further than this, I will need to break through a reincarnation era to break free from the influence of the willpower of the primal universe. Willpower of the origin? Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City leader looked at one another. Others might have been unaware, but previously, the two of them were most frequently in contact with Teacher Origin. After Teacher Origin was suppressed, whenever he needed to connect with the human race, it was mostly through the two of them. This was why they had the opportunity to hear about the willpower of the origin from Teacher Origin. There were many stone chairs on either side of the long stone table. Luo Feng, Huge Axe, and Primal Chaos City leader were seated there when suddenly, on the stone chair opposite Huge Axe's, which had been empty all this while, a white-robed figure appeared. It was Teacher Origin, but all three of them, Luo Feng, Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City leader, did not realize this. Willpower of the origin? To the side, white-robed Teacher Origin frowned as he listened. But how a Universe Supreme Master continues to cultivate, and how to reach the limit of a Universe Supreme Master, these, I do know, Luo Feng said. With this limit as the basis, if I were to achieve a breakthrough and reach a new level. If you reach a new level, then you will certainly be able to break through a reincarnation, Huge Axe Creator said, finishing his sentence. Luo Feng was shocked and looked toward Huge Axe Creator. He could only speculate, after all, regarding reincarnation. There was no information to be found within the inheritance at all, and it was also impossible to find any information past the limit of a Universe Supreme Master. He had not expected Huge Axe to say this so confidently. Primal Chaos City leader also looked towards Huge Axe with a shocked expression. Huge Axe looked at Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader and said, "It's very simple. When you all achieve your breakthroughs to become Universe Supreme Masters, you will understand why I know this. The bottom line, for a complete breakthrough to the level of a Universe Supreme Master, to level up, you must make it past a reincarnation. If you can't reach the next level, then take a gamble and try your luck. There is still a possibility of achieving a breakthrough. As for how high your chances are, take a look at the countless Universe Supreme Masters who have been annihilated for umpteen reincarnation eras, and you will know how low your chances are." True. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader nodded their heads. For countless reincarnation eras, at least 10 million reincarnation eras, every one of them had at least dozens of Universe Supreme Masters. Sailing down the long river of time, exactly how many Universe Supreme Masters from Universe Ocean were annihilated was a number that was hard to tell. But the ones who succeeded were easy to track: Purple Moon Ancestor and East Emperor Ancestor. Just the two of them. As for whether these two ancestors managed to break through and surpass the level of a Universe Supreme Master in order to successfully break their way through a reincarnation, or if they simply took a gamble within their limit of a Universe Supreme Master to barely scrape through and succeed, no one knew. How can a Universe Master become a Universe Supreme Master? Primal Chaos City leader asked persistently. This concerned him personally. Huge Axe also pressed for answers. For a breakthrough, every Universe Master must tread a different path. Did the inheritance of the pulse of Du and Dong River provide any guidance? Yes. Luo Feng said with a nod. In that ancient civilization, there are countless great beings. Because there were many who managed to achieve breakthroughs, to become a Universe Supreme Master, one has to make it past an extremely large threshold. Naturally, there was a systematic way of recognition, and also, various experiences to tap from, which can help you maximize the chances of successful breakthroughs. By the end of this reincarnation era, our human race may have 4 to 5 Universe Supreme Masters. But if there is more guidance, this number may multiply many folds. Previously, Divine Eye Clan had seen the emergence of 7 Universe Supreme Masters. The human race only had 2 up until today, whereby one of them, Teacher Origin, was being suppressed. As a result, being able to see the birth of 4 to 5 Universe Supreme Masters would already be considered great news. Multiply many folds? Huge Axe and Primal Chaos City leader were both shocked. Doesn't it mean that almost every Universe Master will become a Universe Supreme Master? Primal Chaos City leader asked. The human race only had a total of 19 Universe Masters. No, Luo Feng shook his head. That's not what I meant. From a Universe Master to a Universe Supreme Master, there is an extremely frightening threshold to pass. With the guidance of the ancient civilization, although the chances of breaking through are maximized, there is still a high level of difficulty. What I was referring to was the entire cultivation system. That is, from an undying to a universe supreme master. For instance, the human race currently only has a few thousand universe knights and close to 20 universe masters. Under a more improved system, the human race could possibly have over 100,000 universe knights and a few hundred universe masters. Such a cultivation method enables those who are naturally less talented and who may otherwise only reach the level of a universe knight to progress all the way to becoming a universe master. This explains why the average talent of these few hundred universe masters cannot even be compared with as few as about 20 universe masters of our human race. I suppose a few hundred universe masters should be able to give rise to dozens of universe supreme masters. If they are lucky, it may also be possible to reach a number close to 100 universe supreme masters. This explains why the average talent of these few hundred universe masters cannot even be compared with as few as about 20 universe masters of our human race. I suppose a few hundred universe masters should be able to give rise to dozens of universe supreme masters. If they are lucky, it may also be possible to reach a number close to 100 universe supreme masters. Silence. Primal Chaos City leader and huge axe creator had quietened down. They were in the aftermath of a shock. So powerful. How many universe supreme masters could one reincarnation era cultivate? Take the first reincarnation era and the second reincarnation era, for instance. Both eras only had around 30 universe supreme masters. In the near future, could the human race become stronger than a reincarnation era? This Primal Chaos City leader opened his mouth to speak but was at a loss for words. Are you confident? Huge Axe's eyes were, on the contrary, glimmering. Luo Feng nodded, of course. A universe supreme master is merely one of the many stages along the path that a great being takes. As our human race gets stronger, and the more territories we claim in the primal universe, our numbers will increase. Close to 100 universe supreme masters will also be highly possible for us. Great, Huge Axe replied right away. Then you shall provide us with some guidance and let us see just how impressive this ancient civilization could be. Sure. Luo Feng was well prepared. Naturally, he would be confident. Huge Axe nodded. I shall arrange for the few of them to make their way here. On this piece of land suspended in the vast void space was Huge Axe's godly palace. Before it was a long stone table with stone chairs on either side. There, several figures were starting to appear. Huge Axe creator, why are you looking for us so urgently? Pengong Master asked amidst smiles. At the same time, other universe masters were appearing one by one. They were Darkness Master, Void Gold Master, Qingdong Master, Deserted Mirror Master, Pengong Master, Longyang Master, and Ice Mountain Master. Including Primal Chaos City Leader, there was a total of 8 universe masters. The moment they arrived, the first thing they would notice was that Luo Feng was present, too. Instantly, all of them could feel their insides burning as anticipation settled in. They all knew that Luo Feng was receiving the inheritance of the pulse of Duan Dong River from that ancient civilization. For him to show up this time around, it seemed like the matter concerned that inheritance. Luo Feng has started to receive the inheritance of the pulse of Duan Dong River, Huge Axe said. His eyes swept across the universe masters once before he fixed his gaze on them. Primal Chaos, Darkness, Pengong. The 3 of you are the most hopeful ones for becoming universe supreme masters. Void Gold, Longyang, Deserted Mirror, Qingdong, and Ice Mountain. The 5 of you are quite hopeful candidates, too. You all should join us in listening. Let us listen to what Luo Feng can tell us, the Universe Masters, about achieving our breakthrough to become Universe Supreme Masters. Primal Chaos City Leader appeared to be quite at peace. He merely smiled, but the other 7 were shocked and their emotions ran high. A breakthrough from Universe Master to Universe Supreme Master? There was simply no precedent to follow, as each and every Universe Master had to walk a different path. This was already giving them headaches because if they wanted to attempt a breakthrough, it had to be done within and during the time of their current Primal Universe era. This meant that, once this reincarnation era ended and they had to go into the miniature universe, they would no longer have the chance to try again. How can they not panic? Qingdong Master was the first to speak up. Luo Feng, are you confident? Milky Way, can I become a Universe Supreme Master? Pengong Master was more straightforward and asked directly. Luo Feng addressed their concerns right away. For the few of you here, our human race is very gifted. Even without any system to guide us, we have made it up to now with each and every one of you being so extraordinary. The moment we have the ancient civilization's guidance, certainly there is hope for the few of you here to become universe supreme masters of our human race. As for who can achieve the breakthrough, this I cannot guarantee. I just know that, after listening to what I have to say, you all will foster a better understanding. All of you shall stop asking now, Huge Axe ordered. Just let Luo Feng speak. The many universe masters who had yearned for such a breakthrough for endless time all sat there, desperately holding back their doubts and questions, suppressing their worries and anxieties as they fixated their gazes on Luo Feng. They started to pay close attention to what he had to say. White-robed teacher Origin listened intently. Luo Feng's gaze swept through everyone present. From universe master to universe supreme master, everyone must tread a different path, which, in fact, could be classified into two major categories. Everyone held their breath and listened carefully. The first category, starting off by godly power. Luo Feng said with utmost confidence. The second category, starting off by laws. Huge Axe Creator, who was paying close attention, was instantly filled with doubts. He asked, starting off by laws. This process of becoming a universe supreme master, from what I know, everyone has to advance from the laws, like the universe master from Space Beast Alliance combined the laws of the 8 beast gods. Many others mainly started off from time and space. All of them had different directions. Luo Feng smiled. Starting off from the laws, almost 90% of the universe supreme masters did as such, he explained. As for starting off with godly power. What is godly power? Godly power gives rise to form, that is, the body. Godly power contains life imprints, thus constituting the core of life. Just like how we humans have souls, while some other races do not but still have the core of life. In short, any universe master can convert into endless godly power. Everyone listened in silence. What is the foundation of becoming a universe supreme master? To break. To break limits. To break free from suppression. Breaking free from all kinds of shackles would allow us to enter a whole new world. Luo Feng paused, then said solemnly, just like how we start off with the laws, we have to achieve our breakthrough via the laws to enable God Country to break through the bottleneck. And once God Country passes the bottleneck, it will naturally start to evolve and transform into a miniature universe. On the other hand, to start off by godly power, the perfect life gene of a universe master is 10,081 times. This is the limit. Starting off by godly power requires one to surpass this limit. To enable one's godly power to evolve into a whole new level. Once our godly power has evolved, the body and soul would follow suit. This is what it means to use force against technique. We are utilizing our absolute power to overcome and break free from the shackles. Once we achieve our own breakthrough, the capacity to bear the weight of God Country would naturally increase. That is when we can propel God Country to break through its bottleneck and start its evolution into a miniature universe. All the universe masters present there were now listening wordlessly. The various races within Universe Ocean all seemed to be blindly crossing the river together, with no concrete direction or aim to advance into. Because of the small numbers, it was impossible to establish a systematic way of study. And there was no one, like a super great being, to take leadership for strategizing or for organizing to ensure conformity and integration of members. Break free from the shackles. Luo Feng said. Then we can control our fate. From there, the laws will have to retreat and the tables will be turned. We will dictate while the laws follow. Starting off with godly power is extremely difficult, while starting off with laws is relatively easier. I would suggest starting off with the laws, then moving on to figure out how and what we should do. Starting from the laws, use the simplest and most general way to explain. Staring from an undying, one will start by learning certain fundamental laws like gold laws, wind laws, and many more. After becoming a universe knight, one will shift to studying laws like time laws and space laws. Actually, the path of the laws was to consistently climb up from a lowest, most minute point, and the ultimate target is for the 10 fundamental laws of gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, time, and space to be completely unified. And also, they must all be combined into a unified law of chaos. The moment Luo Feng gave this explanation, everyone revealed shocked expressions on the spot. Even Huge Axe Creator was so taken aback he rose to his feet. Opposite Huge Axe Creator's host seat, another host seat appeared out of nowhere. Along with it, a white-robed figure appeared. "Did you mention the law of chaos?" said the white-robed man. He stared at Luo Feng, and in his eyes, there was a kind of light that no one had seen before. Teacher Origin. Huge Axe creator was shocked. Teacher? Primal Chaos City leader, Darkness, and Ice Mountain were all surprised and delighted. They immediately bowed respectfully to greet him. Others like Pengong Master, Qingdong Master, Void Gold Master, Longyang Master, and Deserted Mirror Master were excited beyond words as they shouted, Teacher Origin. Luo Feng was also shocked to see this white-robed man before him. He was the legendary Teacher Origin? Judging by his appearance alone, Teacher Origin looked like any ordinary man. He looked like a perfect introvert with the perfect innate character. He gave people around him a sense of comfort, like the refreshing spring breeze. He was on a totally different scale compared to the other great beings. Luo Feng, did you say Law of Chaos? Teacher Origin asked persistently. Yes. Luo Feng replied without delay. Everything takes form because of the Law of Chaos, and the ultimate goal is for everything to return to the origin in order to comprehend the ultimate Law of Chaos. However, if we do manage to comprehend the Law of Chaos, then the power we gain will be even more formidable than that of Du and Dong rivers. The Law of Chaos, in other words, is the ultimate law. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, time, and space are the 10 fundamental laws. We can use them to compose various combinations like the combination of gold and space to form the golden space path. Or the combination of wood and space to form the wooden space path. We can even form the 8 Beast Gods path, whereby the 8 Beast Gods path can also form various combinations among themselves. Of course, the combination of gold and time would be the golden time path, and that of fire and time would form the fire time path. As Luo Feng was speaking, Huge Axe could not help interrupting with his questions. Gold, wood, water, fire, and earth are the 5 main elements. Do they not belong to the space type? How can they form a complete combination with time? Everything is possible, Luo Feng replied with a smile. Because everything is formed amidst chaos, everything is possible. There are 3 laws that can be possibly combined, or even 4 laws. Or maybe as many as 5 laws can be combined. Luo Feng shook his head, then continued, of course, it is just like how some of the basic materials found on mineral planets can be used to form numerous universe planet ships. The 10 fundamental laws will ultimately become the Law of Chaos. The mysteries, experiences, techniques, and hardships involved can get unbelievably trying. Burying one's head or trying one's luck will not equate to success. Anyone from the ancient civilization will know that the 10 fundamental laws will ultimately become the Law of Chaos. Even for the pulse of Du and Dong River, when it has chosen the absolute heir who is extremely gifted and provides limitless guidance to help him in his cultivation, there is a possibility that this heir may be able to attain mastery of the Law of Chaos, but such cases were very rare. Luo Feng had seen the core inheritance. How the true God stage might be cultivated thereafter, and how many levels it was divided into, no one knew. However, from some things that were occasionally said about it, one could roughly come up with some information. For instance, a memory stone from the core inheritance once said that the number of people from the pulse of Du and Dong River who had mastered the laws of chaos was a miserable few. What did this prove? 1. Not only 1. 2. The most powerful 3 generations of ancestors from the pulse of Du and Dong River stood at the pinnacle of that ancient civilization. They were the strongest beings of the pulse of Du and Dong River, and since there was not 1 but 3 of them, he had obviously surpassed the level of mastering the Law of Chaos. Luo Feng merely gave a short talk about the Law of Chaos since he knew very little about it. He only knew about the process of progressing from an undying to reach the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master, true God. Thereafter, Luo Feng continued to analyze the path of the laws on an even deeper level. Everyone present, including Huge Axe, listened exceptionally carefully. The white-robed Teacher Origin only looked on, observing everything happening without saying much. What attracted his attention was merely the information on the Law of Chaos. Nothing else mattered to him. Since he had been suppressed for such an endless time, if he were to head out, he needed full confidence in the fact that he could transcend a reincarnation. And if he dared to say he had full confidence, then naturally, he must have broken through the true God stage and reached another level that was beyond that of a universe supreme master. This was why what Luo Feng was talking about was something new and slightly interesting to him. What was truly helpful to him was the part mentioned earlier, that the ultimate target was to master the Law of Chaos. Earlier, Teacher Origin was still at a loss as to where he should start. Now, he had a direction. He knew he should follow this path and advance into the Law of Chaos. Teacher Origin was watching everything happening before him. The white-robed Luo Feng was preaching. The other universe masters were listening intently. The scene tugged at Teacher Origin's heartstrings as he reminisced, a long, long time ago, I also used to preach, just like what I am seeing now. I am the one who brought the human race up to ranks of a pinnacle race and made possible the first major turning point for our destiny. And this Luo Feng, he brings with him the wisdom of the entire ancient civilization, and he will be the one to bring about the second major turning point for my human race. And this time around, the change will be much more impactful and far-reaching. He understood that with Luo Feng teaching all he had learned, the human race would gradually undergo transformation. The number of universe knights would consistently increase, and there would be more and more universe masters emerging. Even the number of universe supreme masters would gradually increase. After this reincarnation era came to an end, the human race could become the greatest power in the entire universe ocean. Even stronger than the two holy lands. Humans. Destiny. Turning point. Teacher Origin listened silently. Although he was not sure whether he could possibly survive the suppression and gain his freedom, he still could see that in the future, the human race was going to be strong beyond words. Luo Feng's preaching. Its influence would be pervasive. Luo Feng started out with using layman's terms to give a brief overview, then proceeded talking about some major guiding theories at great length. Thereafter, he started to give a thorough elaboration of the various difficulties involved within each theory and how they should try to achieve breakthroughs and to become a universe supreme master from a universe master. The topic of guiding theories alone took Luo Feng more than 3 months to complete sharing. Starting from the path of the laws, it took up almost every minute of his time to complete whatever he needed to say. If he were to start from his godly power, it would only take him half a day. Because it was so difficult, few in the ancient civilization would want to begin their cultivation with godly power. Therefore, information related to this area was naturally a small amount. Probably only half a day's time was required. These are all guiding theories, guiding thoughts. Luo Feng laughed. That is why it does not take me long to finish talking about them. When I return from the universe boat, I will bring back more detailed information about secret techniques of the inheritance. For example, information on combat methods. It is just that all these techniques are boundless. Verbal sharing alone isn't enough. Perhaps I could use my memory to show you all, but that would take far too long. Luo Feng had depended on the memory stones to infuse a large amount of memories into his mind, and that process alone took ages. Such a vast and powerful secret technique. Even thousands of eras spent preaching about it would never be considered enough time. Similar to the law of combined attacks of the Divine Eye clan? Some unique secret techniques? The combat secret technique of a universe supreme master? Everyone was filled with eagerness to know more. Luo Feng gave a hearty laugh and said, "The universe supreme master? From an undying to the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master, such a secret technique and various combat secret techniques. Even if there are thousands and millions of them, they mean nothing much because there are simply too many. There were countless manuals. Indeed, a deluge of them." Previously, in the basic inheritance he accepted during the selection of candidates, Luo Feng had seen the 360 blade techniques. Now that he had become the master of a space of inheritance, among those 100 million inheritance stones, there were some that could contain thousands of different techniques within them. Those the pulse of Duan Dong River had collected were simply too numerous to keep track of. Of course, various manuals were only for reference purposes, to teach us all about the techniques universe supreme masters had, said Luo Feng. The more secret techniques you expose yourself to, perhaps you may develop an interest for something. The guiding theories and secret techniques are provided for reference. Anything more than these, you can only depend on yourselves. After all, this is a huge threshold. The difficulty levels of becoming a universe knight and a universe master are nothing compared to this. This is much tougher. External supplementary aid aside, this is entirely self-dependent. Everyone fell into deep thought, even Primal Chaos City leader. It had been an impactful 3 months for them, and they all knew they should go about trying their best. But whether they could eventually succeed or not depended on themselves. After all, knowing and being able to achieve something were two matters exclusive of one another. In Flame Ice region of the universe boat, within the boat of Mausoleum, amidst the cultivation space of the space of inheritance. Luo Feng heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, my lesson is done. He shook his head helplessly. I had not expected Huge Axe Creator to be such a difficult character to deal with. Sharing my teachings with the other teachers about how they can become universe supreme masters took me slightly more than 3 months at most. But sharing what I knew with huge acts about how to cultivate to the ultimate limit of a universe supreme master actually took 12 years. Sharing his knowledge with Primal Chaos City leader and Darkness Master, Luo Feng was burning with passion and filled with hope for the future of the human race. On the other hand, while sharing with huge acts, he had started out with excitement, yet, toward the end, simply found it toilsome. I shall continue to study, then. Luo Feng continued to bury his head in comprehending right away. What he had accepted was the foundation of an entire ancient civilization. How extensive was that? Although everything was in his memory, studying it all certainly required a long time. Thus, Luo Feng was forced to make choices regarding what he should or should not comprehend. He would mainly focus on two areas, namely, close-range combat blade techniques and spiritual weapons. It had been 9,106 years since Luo Feng had become an heir. The studies have come to an end. Luo Feng opened his eyes. I may have acquired an immeasurable amount of knowledge, but it does not mean that the more I learn, the better my power becomes. I still must move on to cultivating the knowledge I have acquired. Knowledge alone was useless. Knowing how to use the knowledge was crucial. The three core sets of lost knowledge of the pulse of Duan Dong River were Duan Mie, which literally meant annihilation, Dong Hua, and undying river. They constituted the knowledge he had acquired but had yet to learn how to use. He had given himself ample time to devise paths of advancement regarding his blade technique, spiritual weapons, and others. The paths that he would take. He already had them in place, yet not a single step was made. Annihilation is the most powerful body of knowledge for combat. It can unleash an incredible power in an instant. For now, even if I rely on the blade technique at the level of a universe supreme master, I am still weak in terms of godly power, maybe only at the 5th-tiered stage. If I were to make use of annihilation, the body of lost knowledge created by 3 generations of ancestors. TSK. It's a hefty price to pay. If I use this move, the consumption of my godly body is going to be massive. Dong Hua is pretty important to me. As for Undying River, there is no pressing need for it now. I have another body now, so there is no need for the cultivation of Undying River. When I have become a universe supreme master and all my bodies combine into one. When I only have one original body, then I will need to cultivate Undying River. Luo Feng put Undying River aside for the time being and started his cultivation of Annihilation and Dong Hua. This video will end here.